Hello, everybody. I couldn't help but join you guys for a thoughtful Thursday. And the reason I wanted to share a thought or two with you this Thursday is because I recently finished a conference in which I dealt with the topic of repression and racial memory. And there was a nuanced discussion about this that I tried to engender by talking about race and repression and genetics and family. And the way that I tried to talk about this was not the usual way in which you usually hear race talked about today. We generally know that race is really not a classification that separates people. There's only one race when it comes to people. And then there's different genotypes or genes or genetic families. And so what I tried to highlight in that conference was the fact that we're all one human family, but we come from microcosms of the macrocosm, if you would, when you talk about genotype or genetics and genetic expression. And it occurs to me that one of the things that's really challenging for us to deal with is, and we do a poor job wrestling with in our culture today, is our interaction with what it means to be a part of that very small constellation called the family. Our culture in many ways divorces us from the importance of looking at what it means to belong to a family. And I think that this is deleterious to us because at some point it becomes significant in the journey towards wholeness or proper reconciliation that we deal with the constellation of the family. Many cultures deal with the importance of ancestry through different ways, means, and modes, the importance of tribe, the importance of village, the importance of community. And when I talk about the family and I talk about genotype, I really want to hone in on getting you to think about just how important origins are and the family of origin is. And we don't have time to go into how nuanced that can be, but I do want to say this just to give you a thought or two for today. One of the psychiatrists that I recently read talked about, and I won't tell you who yet, that would be for more exclusive content when I get ready to create that, but there's a black psychiatrist that wrote a book called The Family Unconscious, and he's one of the people that I like to follow. And one of the things that he deals with is how the family constellation carries with it a bond and a communal aura to it that is underestimated in a lot of his studies and looking at dreams and affect or emotion, that even when family was away from each other, and you look at things like studies that you guys see sometimes even on popular television shows that deal with topics of psychology, say, for example, of twins who might experience similar things even though they're in different states or even though they never met each other or don't even know that they are twins. So what he deals with is he just talks about how powerful affect binds families together, emotion binds families together, even when they don't know it. You are living in your ancestor's body. You're living in your family's shared constellation, not just physically, but emotionally, temperamentally, etc., etc. The reason I'm bringing this to bear is I want to give you something to think about. The family constellation, the family unit, is something that has to be wrestled with appropriately in order for our journeys to be more complete. Many people wrestle with mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles. Not only do we wrestle with them, we also experience the benefits. How many of us know what it's like to remember the warm feelings we got from being around our family during Thanksgiving and sitting there realizing that you're a part of a story or a narrative that goes back even before you came on the planet, and that you're participating in something when you're with your family that is much bigger than you. And at its best, it's one of the most precious things, if not the most precious gifts that we have on earth. But we fail to reconcile or wrestle with appropriately the ways in which sometimes there are holes when you talk about the relationships. There are conversations that haven't been had. There are challenges. There are wrenches thrown into the mix when it comes to our relating sometimes to family because of anger or frustrations or even maybe just simply distance. And what we tend to do is to brush these types of things under the rug, assuming that just because our culture puts things in front of our faces and tells us that the only thing that is important is what we're experiencing right now as an individual. And the only thing that matters is where we are right now as an individual. The fact of the matter is, at some point, we all must come back home. And in order to come back home in a way that completes us, we come back home with the thought or with the reality that we have to, in some way, wrestle with our family of origin or our beginnings in a way that makes us whole and in a way that enriches the family members of those around us in a way that hopefully in some way contributes to their wholeness as well. I want to encourage you, because I would be too long-winded if I went on about this, because I could go a little bit further. But I want to challenge you to think about how sometimes and in some ways, family, the relationships with family members, the struggles with those, the lack of reconciliation that we may have with our families that we have not yet taken the time to be eye to eye with or to look eye to eye with. Even if between the ages of 20 and 40, we strive for independence and we go through a season of life, whatever age that might be, 15 to 30, 15 to 35, eventually our genetics come a-calling. We do know that to be the case physically. We go to a doctor's offices, and what's one of the first questions that they ask us? They ask us many times to fill out paperwork, and that paperwork will ask about our family genetic history, the conditions, the physical conditions, the mental conditions. And I think that that reality grounds us in a way that helps us to see just how important it is that we wrestle fruitfully with who we are as individuals and who we are within the family constellation. I want to leave you with that because I may have more for you later, but I give you that to give you some food for thought on this Thoughtful Thursday, and maybe I'll get with you next time. Take care.